I think the most lethal combo hopefully will be if we do an investment in a couple of years, we're going to get all that money to grow the business, but we're going to still have the scrappy underdog mentality mindset of making every freaking penny count. And to me, that's a dangerous freaking combo. You know what I mean? Whereas, you know, some of these brands we competed with, and I applaud the game because, I mean, it is the game, but they've been raising capital literally from the beginning. So they've never actually had to use their own money ever. And when it's not your own money, it matters less because you just know, because there was a time where you didn't even have to be profitable. It was raised, top line revenue at all costs, so how much, your total sales, not the bottom line, your profit. And let's just get to the next 3 to 5 year raise. We'll cash out again. And then the next idiot's going to come in and invest, right? Because he thinks it's eventually going to be profitable. And it's just on this prediction that eventually you're going to be profitable. Unfortunately, now we're learning that a lot of these predictions are not coming true. And that race to top line revenue, it's getting reset because now investors are saying, all right, we got duped in the 2018 to 2022 window.
Every 10 years. That's
right?
It's a 10-year mark.
So now when you raise money, it's like, okay, you have to actually show profitability, and it can't be like, oh, we lost $8 million last year, but in 8 years we're going to make $50 million. Look at our this really fancy model that a Harvard MBA made that doesn't work anymore.
It doesn't understand startups.
So it's awesome you guys were able to get in there right away and immediately identify, just trim fat, like all this dumb stuff you're spending. The inactive email is a great one. Like, how could you? I mean, they should have seen that. Like,
too busy to look at little small stuff like that. But like that was another thing. Like I learned a valuable lesson in smart money, dumb money. Like raising money is really, really easy. It is super easy. What's hard is getting smart money, finding the right partners and the right money. You don't, the last thing in the world you want is some rich dude that's investing in your brand because the cool name and you were a SEAL. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, man, my partner's a SEAL. And then he sits at your board meetings like this with his hand out. When do I get my money back? But he doesn't offer anything. It's one thing to ask questions about when you get your money back. But if you're not bringing in anything to the table, like raising smart money and putting the right people on your board, that's all that matters. Nothing else matters.
And how did the Rogan connection come in?
Man, so Joe Rogan loved Tupood. All right. He was a big Tupood fan. And I remember he would make posts and Tony and I'd be like, oh my God, Joe Rogan's wearing our stuff. And I had his address. So I would just send him stuff. And then we brought Andy Stump on board. So Andy was a former SEAL, Gold Squad guy. And Andy ended up on Joe Rogan's podcast. And we brought John Dudley on, who taught Joe Rogan archery. And then the same thing, if you go over to Black Rifle, who were two of their sponsored people, Andy Stump and John Dudley. So I've always tried to find who controls the microphone. I would, every time I'd go to a CrossFit event, I'd become friends with the announcers and the MCs and the color people. And I would make sure that my reps constantly had them kill cliff to drink, holding their hands, whatever. And that's the thing with Rogan was just sending him stuff, and eventually you hope that maybe he'll open the package and like what's in it. And it just kind of turned into something. So pre us buying it back, he owned a minority, very, very 5%. And now he's all about it. He's all in. He loves the product. We've done 2 drinks specifically for him that he's formulated and all that stuff. And he's an awesome partner. Awesome partner. You would think that it's the guy that you see or listen to on the podcast, that's the guy. It's him in real life, man. He's awesome. And he's a great decision. That was a no-brainer, getting him involved.
And did you see an instant, they call it the Rogan effect? Did you guys see that right away?
So Evan has always referred to Joe Rogan as a kingmaker. So there's organic stuff with Rogan. Absolutely. Paid stuff doesn't really work that well. But organic stuff, product placement, like him wearing, there's a post that he's wearing a Black Rifle shirt, or he has the Rock one. And he's like, you want to kill cliff? And Rock's like, yeah, man. What is this? He's like, this is my drink, spicy pineapple. And the Rock's like, that was my nickname in high school. Little things like that, man. That, it's 4 million impressions. Yeah, which aren't necessarily the greatest thing in the world, but they make for a cool story.
Well, it's just crazy how we always talk about how that world has changed. Where like 2008, if you had Rogan, if you could do a paid digital ad with him, it would have crushed. Whereas now people's brains like just turn that off, regardless of who it is. It's very hard. Like the whole famous person effect isn't as real anymore.
The reason for that,
yeah.
Well, it's you can saturate a customer base or a follower base in 30 days.
Yep.
So if you look at companies that like have these long-term relationships with these influencers, which is such an insulting term, but it doesn't do anything for brands anymore. Oh yeah, he's been with us for 5 years. Do you think anyone that follows him gives a shit? No. So I think you'll start seeing a seasonality stuff with people. Like, hey man, instead of us paying you, hypothetically, let's say, instead of us paying you like $2,500 a month, which comes out to what, $30,000 a year, we're going to do two things with you and spend $20,000 on each thing and just go nuts for 30 days. Yep. And then you're not responsible for making stupid non-organic posts every month to hit your deliverables. Mm-hmm. Like, so we're transitioning from the creator economy where everyone wants to be an influencer and everyone's posting and everyone thinks they're a content creator and making a podcast to the curator economy. Now, what's the difference here? You're subscribed to 12 podcasts, you follow 10,000 people, and you see the same shit and listen to the same shit every day. Transitioning into the curator economy, you're only listening to 2 podcasts, maybe 1.5, and you're not paying attention to what randos are just posting what's the value proposition for the consumer? Why am I following you? Why am I opening your email?
Yeah.
What's in it for me? Mm-hmm. And that's, if as a business owner or entrepreneur, people thinking about starting a business, like, it's very, very important that you're providing a value to your customer or your potential customer versus just carpet bombing social with a bunch, because you can turn people off with that.
For sure.
Know?
Yeah. No, absolutely. So you got Joe 20% now. Mm-hmm. Killcliff's back on the right track.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I saw it evolve over time, mm-hmm. right? And you guys were an endemic brand to CrossFit, and then you left. It was like you
VC.
You had this foothold, right? And it's like you literally had the high ground.
Gave it up to Fit.
It's like you literally just gave up the high ground.
Gave it to Fit.
And then they
augured in.
They kicked your all's ass.
Yeah, and they augured in too.
Yeah. And then,
but that was the VC thing. We're too heavy in CrossFit. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
No.
So, and I think that's where the suits end up screwing everything up.
Yeah, but you think about a tree.
Yeah.
All right. This massive 100-year-old oak tree. What's the most important component to that oak tree? Its root system. Period. The crown and the bowl and the DBH and all that stuff does not matter. What matters is the roots. And the moment that you ignore that, that's when your tree starts to die. And that's what happened. They're like, oh, Killcliff's too heavy in CrossFit. It's like, that's the entire D2C like arm of the company. What do you mean? Like, well, we need to find other sports. So I remember one time they suggested fencing and squash.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yes.
You know what squash is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of insane.
Well, I think if you want some unsolicited advice that you didn't ask for, I was at Red Bull for 4 years, actually 7 if you count college. And,
fascinating story. Fascinating brand.
I think something that you guys could really lean into, just as because since I am a consumer, right?
Right.
So I have a different lens that I see it through, but having a beverage background is like, you guys, kind of adopted a very kind of silly, carefree, like, cats with lasers, like it's
so stupid. That was the SEAL did that. That's Todd.
Okay, well, hey,
I'm saying that because you're a SEAL.
But at the end of the day, you guys are positioning yourselves as like a recovery drink, mm-hmm. right? And it's so important, in my opinion, to carry credibility from a recovery standpoint. Like, you have to not be silly for a minute and actually explain what are the actual ingredients and what does each one benefit to. And I don't I'm telling you, just as a friend, as a consumer, you guys have a great brand, a great product, but I think you could lean more into, hey, here's how this actually works. This is how it's formulated. And that's why with Red Bull, we would always try to do it. It'd be like, hey, the B vitamins are for this. We would break out the ingredients. And even though you think it's just some energy drink where it's like a bunch of dudes jumping out of planes, it's like, no, there's actually, let's break this out for you, why it's going to give you energy. And we always would make the team that was sampling always deliver that. And maybe you guys are doing it more, but
there's a huge transition in society. Like, so what I refer to that as human performance. So people are drinking a lot less. They're paying way more attention to, a lot of people are, much less alcohol is being consumed in today's day and age. They're paying attention to, like, there's a lot of stuff out there that you can do that doesn't necessarily, like, the thing with CrossFit is the barrier to entry was always hard work. There's no easy CrossFit workouts. They all suck. But like there's things you can do now where you don't have to kill yourself. Red light therapy, cold plunge, sauna, all this stuff. And so there's a huge transition into the human performance realm. So I completely agree with you 100%. And that is something we are going to be focusing on. Because like these cans, like, I don't know what that is, man.
There's a lot going
It's
on.
obviously,
What is that?
This is, I'm holding up the elk blood, which is good. But yeah, it doesn't lend itself to
Education at all.
this is a health product, right?
Right.
Now you don't have to like make it look medical, but at the same time, if you have, you know what I mean? I just think you guys could really lean more in, hey, we do have humor. We're kind of witty and like we have fun. However, let's be serious for a second. Here are the reasons you should drink this product, and here's how it will help you recover at a physiological level. I think that's long overdue. And for a while, it didn't matter because you guys had the brand. It was like, oh, if you were in CrossFit in the early days, it was fashionable to have a kill cliff after your workout, right? You know what I mean? You'd be in the cool down area and we'd all be drinking the orange kill cliff. It didn't like we didn't give a shit what was in it.
Right.
It said recovery drink. It was it one or not? We didn't care. It was just a justification to
no questions.
You know what I mean? But now, to your point. So again, that's unsolicited
so let me see
advice.
this can.
Yeah.
So this can. The thing about me that jumps out about this is like, if this is someone's like first interaction with the brand, what is that? It's like a haunted house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like the CBD, like, what is the purpose of CBD? So that, that is something we're absolutely focusing on. And it's funny you mentioned that because when a VC firm comes into your business, all right, they don't know this is the transition phase, the little transition block I was talking about. They don't understand brand loyalty and things like that. So the first thing they're going to do is they're going to hire some of their marketing buddies from their previous company. All right. And here's what they're going to do. One of three things. And anyone listening, please shoot me a message on Instagram. Give me an example if you've ever seen this. But this is what they do. Repackaging, new products, product design, rebranding. One of those three things. And you know why they do that? It's like restarting your computer when you talk to the Apple guy. Restarting your computer doesn't do anything. But what it does is it buys them time. Oh, yeah, we're going to work on the packaging. We're going to come up with some new products. We're going to do rebranding and stuff. All that is just slowing down the game so they can try and figure out what they're doing. Like, I don't know how this works, but let's do this. It'll buy us time. And that's a byproduct of like, the original can was the white one with the logo. It was an awesome can. Why would they change it? The can they replaced it with now is hideous.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're getting back to all that stuff. Like it took us a year to get it to where it is right now. And like, we're in a great spot. And so that's stuff that we're working on now is making some of those changes.